morning, everyone. We're very excited for the beginning of our 10th annual conference. As tGELF enters 10 years this year, it's been an exciting journey. The last year has been incredible in many ways, not just because of the various partnerships we forged and what we've done, but most importantly, because the Leaders Forum has come together on a number of projects. We've had the community being more engaged than ever before. We've had the community working together, whether it was on a project with the World Economic Forum through the December break, or over this last summer on multiple projects with over 20 people in our office at any point of time. So what Kshitij, Amisha, and I are going to do over the next few minutes is just take you through some of the most exciting projects that we're working on, and it kind of will let everyone understand where we're headed over the next year, and particularly why we're focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals over the next 3 days.
Very good evening. I applaud you all who have come together for taking up such a worthy cause. Indeed, there is a need to liberate our world from the curse of poverty. It is our collective challenge. We cannot and must not let such injustice continue. It should be our collective aspiration that no human being remains impoverished. Nature made every human being equal. We created the injustice and indignity of poverty. Elevation only will not suffice. We must eliminate poverty. My government is committed to eliminate poverty. To me, it means creating a condition where every individual is able to realize his or her full potential. Time has come for nations and governments to show resolve in tackling this challenge. I believe that a government is for the poor. I am committed to dignity and freedom from poverty. For all, this is my mission. And this is your mission. Let us work together. This will make our world a better place to live.
So that's a short message from the Prime Minister, given that we've been engaging with him and his office on various projects that we're doing along with a number of our partners. So that kind of sets the broad theme for what we're doing and where tGELF is headed in terms of our focus. And like Mr. Khemka said before this, over the last 10 years, all of us have come through the tGELF curriculum, which has grown and evolved substantially and now reaches many more people than it ever did. And Kshitij will tell us a little more about it. But as we look at the 4 pillars at which tGELF is focused on, leadership, ethics, altruism, and a bias for action, we look at those virtues and those values, and we kind of see how we can focus our energy as a community, as 250 Leaders Forum members, or over 3 million kids who actually now receive our curriculum and who go through this curriculum. How can we activate and mobilize all of these people and actually use this energy and this mobilization towards a particular target? And we see a lot of synergy with the Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations has put in place, and we think that it allows each one of you, each one of us to actually work together with our own interests, but align together towards a common cause. And it's in this spirit and it's with this thought that we've actually taken up a number of projects this year. Kshitij is going to talk a little bit about the curriculum, which is the core of what tGELF has been doing and will continue to do, and as our plans as we take that from 3 million to 5 million, 10 million, and eventually our target of 100 million kids in the next 5 years. After which we'll actually talk about some of these projects that we've engaged on, both in India, an exciting project that we're embarking on for the next 15 years, as well as a number of other projects across the globe, because when we look at tGELF and we look at our vision for the next 15 years, it's truly one of a global family, one that allows India and everyone in this room to show leadership energy, but it's not restricted to one country, one community, but something which can actually move the needle on a global scale by working together through interconnectedness yet at the same time having at our heart those core values which our organization represents.
Thanks, Jay. By the way, guys, that was Jay. I think he forgot to introduce himself. I'm Kshitij. So excited to be here. So many new faces, so many faces I've seen before, but I want to get to know better. I'm very excited. It's going to be a great 4 days, 3 nights, 4 days. We're going to have a great time. And I just wanted to get into the curriculum right away. So the curriculum, as Mr. Khemka mentioned, has been the core of tGELF for a very long time, for the last 10 years. That's how tGELF was developed with the leadership of Mrs. Ishwaran, Ms. Dinu Raheja, and the team. We've really expanded over the last 10 years, and it's been an absolutely great journey. As we keep emphasizing again and again, and you're going to hear these 4 words again and again over the next 4 days: leadership, ethics, altruism, and decisive action. Because we really believe and follow that these principles and these values are what define a leader. And this is the type of community we are aiming to create here. So 10 years ago, we created this curriculum with Columbia Teachers College and Harvard Graduate School of Education. And we did a survey amongst many students across the country and across the globe. And we asked them, what's a leader for you? Who is a leader for you? So we got things such as fame, success, money, celebrity status. So we had Shah Rukh Khan, Amir Khan, Leonardo DiCaprio. These were the leaders that were emerging. And I'm not denying that they're not leaders, right? But we were actually looking for something much deeper. So how did we create that? With these 4 principles, we created this curriculum, which now reaches 3 million students. Our aim is 100 million in the next few years. And over the last 10 years, I think we've touched around 10 million students across 14 countries. In the beginning, I hear from the team, I wasn't there at that time, that it was very hard. When we were going to government schools, it was very hard to convince them that there is this additional curriculum that we want to actually introduce to the school. We want to integrate it into the main curriculum. So they asked us, how will you measure it? Will there be exams? Will it help them achieve more marks? But it doesn't, right? It helps you grow as a human being and then leads into many other things. So it's very hard to convince these government schools, even private schools, that we want to introduce this a few hours a week. But now, after these 10 years, people have understood and governments have understood that this moral component of education, this values-based curriculum, is something that the entire world needs. So this year, we actually had state governments coming to us and saying, please, tGELF, can you please bring this into our state? We had the Gujarat government, we had the Maharashtra government, the Andhra Pradesh government, the Rajasthan government, saying that, please, we need to introduce this curriculum amongst the students of our state, regardless of what kind of school they come from. So we have 1,500 more schools now in the Adarsh and model schools of Rajasthan. We have 71 more schools in other parts of Rajasthan where we started a rural initiative. And it's been growing absolutely wonderfully. In the UAE, for example, outside of India, if we talk about outside of India and the UAE, it's become a mandatory course for all teachers. Every single teacher has to go through this training to get the credits required to be a teacher and go and teach in these schools. So it's been a great journey, and I really wanted to applaud the entire curriculum team who've been working on this for the last 10 years, because the entire world now is actually realizing that leadership, ethics, altruism, and decisive action are critical things, are integral things that every single child, regardless of what age, regardless of what status, need to learn. Right? So now the curriculum runs from kindergarten to class 12, and we're planning to introduce it in colleges soon, as well as parents, as well as households, and other institutes across the world. So just a round of applause for the entire curriculum team and the way this has been growing over the last few years. So as Jay mentioned, we've gotten into a number of projects, and our curriculum has actually been the core of all of this. With these 4 values, we have gotten into projects, chosen projects, that actually exhibit and talk about these values. And Jay is going to talk about one of the projects, one of the biggest projects we're doing this year, that will hopefully amplify the voices of the SDGs, amplify our voices in this world, and make everyone believe that they can be the leader they want to be. And they have the potential to actually change the world, especially if they come together as a family, as a community of these ethical, altruistic leaders. So Jay, I'm going to give it off to you now.
The first project we're talking about is something which a large part of this room has been involved in. We've co-created this together, and as we go forward over the next year and this next 15-year journey, along with the Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations, and a number of our different partners, We believe that this can be a project which actually allows us to create voice on the planet, which allows us to move the needle. And most importantly, it allows us to mobilize and activate young people for a cause, and the cause being the end of extreme poverty. And this project has been our partnership with Global Citizen, something which I believe is not just a partnership for the next 15 years, but if you see what we've done over the last 10 years, our values have been very synergistic with those of the Sustainable Development Goals, with those of Global Citizen and the various organizations we're partnering with. We're looking at how we can create social impact on scale over the next 15 years. And at the core of this is the idea of actually incentivizing young people to do good. Because we believe that while a lot of talk about how these goals can be achieved happens in drawing rooms across the world, it's important that our generation, it's important that us, as the Leaders Forum, who have come together and who regularly have exposures to the best opportunities and who have this community together, and if we work together can actually achieve something. We believe it's our responsibility to help move the needle and help act on issues which are fundamental to this planet going forward. So Global Citizen, I'll ask Devika to play a short video to explain a little bit about what Global Citizen does and has done over the last 5 years, after which we'll take you through a little bit about what we have planned over the next 15 years.
Dignity is that basic idea that by virtue of our common humanity and that every person deserves to live free from want.
This is the only festival that you can get into only by doing service, only by being a better person. So to see this crowd of thousands, tens of thousands of people who all got here by taking action is so inspiring.
Hold your leaders accountable to make the world a better place.
Education is hope, education is peace, education is a basic human right.
These are our girls. They deserve the same chances to get an education as my daughters and your daughters and all of our children.
Governments have to do what you tell them if there's enough of you. It is always impossible until it is done.
I look out and I see a sea of global citizens, optimistic, determined. We can change the world.
The final total, ladies and gentlemen.
So as you can see, it's a very exciting project that we're embarking on, and a project that has the ability to actually capture mindsets and imaginations of young people across India. As you know, we're a very young country, and we think if we can actively influence these mindsets and actually get people to take actions for social good, we can have a tremendous impact. And like I've said before, I want to reiterate, everything we've done on Global Citizen so far has involved a large part of our Leaders Forum, which has been something that gives us a lot of happiness in the fact that we've been able to involve the community. And I think going forward, that engagement and involvement is just going to continue. So whether you're interested in Coldplay, politics, working with NGOs, or any part of this paradigm that our partnership with Global Citizen reflects, we'd urge you to come on board, reach out to any one of the 11 of us who've been working on this. There's a number of other senior people in this room who've spent a lot of time, energy on this. A number of our partners will be with us over the next 3 days from different spaces. And we'd urge you to speak to everyone to actually get to know more about this project. And as we play this game over the next 3 days, you will realize what we're trying to do. And the only way we can succeed on this mission, the only way we can actually have real impact on this planet is by everyone getting involved, whether it's for an hour a day, whether it's an hour a week, or whether you want to spend some time and actually work on this project on the ground level. Please do join us on this. So our second big project, or not in any particular order, but another very interesting project that we've engaged and we've actually been working on has been a project with Amplify. And Amplify is a company owned by Steve Jobs' widow, Laureen Powell Jobs, and a company that's working in the educational technology space, which makes games which actually teach young people math, science, English, and can have tremendous impact in a country like India, where we have the challenge of skilling 25 million people every year, a country where every year the number of people coming out of the schooling system increases and the number of people who don't go to school in absolute numbers becomes larger. And we, as our foundation and as our community, really believe that the ability to use technology and the ability to use games and fun games to actually teach young people is something that can have tremendous impact. So a large part of our community spent a lot of time and energy on this, and it's been an exciting project with a pilot being conducted in Rajasthan with various different developments across the globe. Zana, who's in New York, has been regularly in and out of the Amplify office to see what we can do together. So this is, again, another very exciting project where I think a lot of people who have interest in the technology space, who are studying engineering, who are actually interested also in psychology and the effect and impact that games can have on young people, a lot of you would enjoy this project. So please let us know if you're interested in this particular project. The other thing that we've been doing as we embark on this journey of working towards the Sustainable Development Goals is also tying in sustainability, tying in this long-term vision for the planet with ethics, because that's our core and that's our DNA as a foundation. So an interesting development has been the fact that a few members of our team have been working very closely with a team that's working on a special project for the Pope on ethical citizenship, because he's developing and launching a curriculum which is going to reach millions of people. And his core belief is that in a world which is so fragmented, a world which, as you can see very clearly in the United States right now, in the election, or in different parts of the world, a world where in most of Europe and the Middle East, you see the impact of ISIS and everything else that's happening. The Pope has taken a decision that he wants to actually talk not just about religion and not just about one particular way of life, but more importantly about global citizenship and what that can mean for the planet going forward. And given that we've been working in this space over the last 10 years, this partnership holds immense promise and is something that we're honored and deeply thankful that we've been given the opportunity to work on. In the same space in terms of learning and the curriculum that Kshitij was talking about earlier, and again, in some way tying deeply back to the 6 different branches of Global Citizen that Mr. Khemka was talking about, is what we're launching with Georgetown University and the School of Foreign Service there, which is an annual week-long training program for a few of our Leaders Forum members, accompanied by 10 to 11 Indian parliamentarians every year. And they're going to get exposure to the best minds in Washington, D.C. in the worlds of foreign policy and security. And that's happening starting this September every year. So that's something where a lot of our forum members who are in the US, we'd love to include them in any way possible. We'll be sending out more details. And we think that it's going to be another important step as we try and train ourselves and we try and learn, because one of the core things we want to do as we perform these projects and take leadership on these projects is not stop the learning. And while we learn on the ground and we learn while we lead, we also think it's important to actually have conversations, open up our minds. And this is something that's going to happen with 11 Indian parliamentarians going forward every year, every September. So we've chosen a list of, there's a list of about 50 to 60 projects that different parts of our foundation are working on. We've actually chosen a list of the top 10, 15 projects where we've been most engaged, not because they're the most important, but just because we've spent the most time there, and so that you'll get a sense of what's been happening. I think a lot of you already know what's been happening, but we don't want it to be in silos, so we've kind of chosen that. So these have been some of the projects we've engaged on in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals and talking about global impact. Kshitij and Amisha have a few more projects that they want to talk about. So I'm going to hand it over to Kshitij to talk about the work we're doing with the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, which is very important and is something which over the years will help in our forum create businesses which will help create wealth and resources which can then be deployed for good. After which he'll speak a little bit about the various partnerships we forged with NGOs over the country. I think we're working with more than 30 NGOs across the country, and we've tried to work in all the different regions. We probably are working with one NGO in every state right now. After which Amisha will speak about the work we're doing with the World Economic Forum on a platform called Get In, as well as some of the work we're doing with the University of Pennsylvania and Wharton in terms of financial literacy and a prize for actually innovation in education. So Kshitij.
Thanks again, Jay. I hope everyone's awake, yeah? Yeah? Great. NFTE, Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. Now, this is one of the world's largest entrepreneurship training programs, and we believe in India, entrepreneurship is becoming more and more important. And not only India, across the world, across Asia Pacific, and other continents. Entrepreneurship is something that teaches you how to question things, right? How to be curious, how to actually find your own way into doing things, and actually being job creators instead of job takers. So we have a situation here in India where 17,000 MBAs and engineers actually applied for a job of a sweeper in a government school in Uttar Pradesh. Right? Nothing wrong with the job of a sweeper, but they can be doing a lot more. They can be using their skills to actually improve the lives of the sweepers, for example. Right? So we have a situation here where we need to develop these job creators instead of people who are taking these jobs and who are going into jobs that have already existed for so long. Startups have become a craze across India, right? And just within this space, we decided to actually integrate the curriculum of NFTE, of the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, into our curriculum. So their curriculum is actually integrated into ours now, and it actually reaches all the students that we reach as well, so that this sense of entrepreneurship, along with the SDGs, which have been integrated as well, actually goes to every single student across the world, and that's our vision. About the NGO partnerships that Jay referred to, through Global Citizen and the other projects that we're doing, we have been very, very fortunate and privileged to forge partnerships with a number of NGOs in various spaces, especially the 3 SDGs that you have written over there and here: quality education, gender equality, and water and sanitation. We have a lot of them in the crowd right now. We will have a lot of them coming and going in the next 3 or 4 days. And I actually urge all of you to meet them and understand what makes them do the work they do and learn from the inspiration and learn from all their work. It's been a very inspiring journey for all of us to actually work with these people. Just to name a few, from water and sanitation, we have Sulabh International, we have WSSCC, Water Supply Sanitation Collaborative Council, we have the UNICEF, we have Arghyam, we have WaterAid. These are NGOs that are actually trying to create behavior change across the country, right? And they've taken a holistic picture where they believe that infrastructure as well as mindset change is what is needed. In the education space, we're working with Pratham Books, the Central Square Foundation, we're working with Design for Change, Room to Read. So across the spectrum, we're working with all these NGOs that are doing great on-the-ground work, and they have a lot of expertise to share with us. And they have been very kind to actually come here and inspire us and share the work that they're doing, share the success stories, share the best practices, and actually show us what it takes to change behaviors, to change mindsets, to change attitudes. Because that's what we're really looking to do with Global Citizen, with our curriculum, and with all our other projects. In the gender space, we have wonderful organizations like CSR, Center for Social Research, CPR, and various others. And we're very excited to be working with all of these. Just coming to the education space now, I would like Amisha to actually introduce one of our critical projects for this year, Get In, which is actually what I believe is going to change the way we see education and the way best practices in education spread across the world. And then she'll carry on with something that is very critical again, financial literacy. We've seen the government doing a lot of work in this space. And now we want to tell the government that, okay guys, great, congratulations, we're on your side. But we want society to be a part of these projects. We want the youth of this country to be a part of these projects. Because without our engagement, these things are not going to work. Right? Global Citizen follows a very similar value that we can't keep asking the government to do things. Right? As long as society and the youth in particular in India, with 800 million youth, is not engaged in this, it is going to be very hard to change mindsets, as I said, and achieve and push the needle on these issues. So Amisha, I'm going to give the floor to you now.
Hi everyone, Amisha here. Very excited to have all of you here at Life. It's been a crazy few days. I think the team has been putting in a lot of effort to plan this exciting and new way of conducting Life. And I think in the next few days you'll realize how much work has been put in and how much excitement's going to be coming on the floor. And as all of us have been talking about education so much, and we realize that's one of the core pieces and values that we believe in as a foundation. And it's important to find innovative ways to plug that hole of illiteracy. And it boils down to all the issues that we face right now come down to the fact that people don't have enough information and don't realize the value of the different issues that we face and the solutions that we need to find for them. So one of the things that we've been working on for the past few months has been in partnership with the World Economic Forum. And Mr. Khemka is a part of the Global Agenda Council for Education that brings together thought leaders around the world that have innovative, scalable methods of bringing education ideas into one space and one room. So what we've done is partnered with them to come together to have world leaders, innovators, technology experts, individuals, governments, corporates to come on the same platform and talk about innovative ways of getting the education model out there. So for example, if someone has an idea of running a kindergarten school in Rajasthan really, really well, that idea should be out there on the internet for someone to either invest in, to scale up, for someone to not reinvent the wheel and start that somewhere else in the world. And we don't have enough time to start piloting projects that are not going to be successful. So it's about time that we bring all these technologies together on a platform which is almost sort of a virtual Silicon Valley that brings together these ideas to talk about the education space, the innovations, and identifying high potential innovations that can be brought about to bring scalable change in the world. So that's one of the most exciting projects that we're working on in education, and we've partnered with a lot of leading experts and corporates and thought leaders and non-profits and governments to get the right messaging and idea to make sure that we're not doing something that's going to be the same old process that everyone's been following. It has to be something that's innovative, exciting, and new that we're bringing to the platform. Couple of the other education projects we're taking up is with the University of Pennsylvania. The first one would be with Wharton, as Kshitij was mentioning. We've tied up with Wharton to start a financial literacy program. And for us, that's very important because we need to start bringing the idea of why savings, investments is so important. And we believe that it starts from the bottom of the pyramid at a young age. And we're going to be rolling out this curriculum to our schools, to the kids, to make sure they get the right messaging across. And once we have that in place, they are going to go to their parents and teach them about savings and investment and the right way of carrying their financials. So I think that for us is a very important project, an exciting project, and we're going to be rolling it out through our networks in Rajasthan, in Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and make sure that we reach the right schools and pilot in the right way to make it a scalable way of getting financial literacy throughout India. Another project we're working on with UPenn is with CASI, which is the Center for Advanced Studies in India, and we're conducting various speaker series and research models with them to come up with the best ways of bringing this change about. We have so many projects that we're doing currently, and we need to have a deep understanding of how we're going to bring about that change and the impact that it's going to be creating. So those are a couple of the projects that we're working on currently. The last thing that we're doing with UPenn as well is with the Reimagining Education Conference that they have every year annually. And Mr. Khemka and our foundation has been a part of it for a while now. And last year, we've rolled out a prize for the best innovations in education that focus on our 4 pillars. So leadership values, ethics, altruism, and decisive action. And we're helping with a jury of experts and our team and our foundation and Indian academics and international academics to come together to assess these different ideas that people are going to bring forth and give a prize and to make sure we identify the right kind of education models that help inculcate these values at a scalable manner. So those are a couple of projects that we're working on in education as well. I think I'll give it back to...
So I think that's a wrap on some of the key projects that we've been working on. I think over the next few days, everyone will learn more about each of these projects, about the other projects, will inspire us to take on other projects, newer projects apart from these 10 and the other 50 that the foundation's been working on. Like we've said, the most exciting part is the fact that the Leaders Forum has been more and more engaged with every year. We see a greater degree of engagement, and we want every single person to be engaged in some way with what the foundation's doing. The next few months and the year ahead is going to be incredibly exciting. We'd like to thank everyone in this room for coming here. We'd like to thank all our partners, all our guests who've come in from across the world, from across India. It means a lot to us that you're here. It means a lot to the Leaders Forum that you're spending 3-4 days of your valuable time with us, and there's a lot we can learn from you. To everyone in the Leaders Forum, welcome back. To the new people, we're delighted. I think over the next few days, in the chaos and the excitement of the next few days, you'll understand what the tGELF family is all about. And a big thank you to everyone who made this possible, who worked behind the scenes, from all of the 11 members of the Leadership Development Program. I think a big thank you to Mrs. Sharan and the entire team, as well as to Mr. and Mrs. Khemka, who've actually guided and worked on this. I think the most exciting part for the 11 of us is that we can actually lead projects of such impact, and we have the support and guidance of this community, everyone sitting in this room, and that means a lot to each one of us. So I hope, and I'm sure that almost every one of you over the years will apply to this program, and I know that it's going to be one of the most exciting programs that happens, and one program that not just benefits the people who are taking part in it, but benefits our community as a whole. And our Leaders Forum, the 250 of us, can actually create a lot of impact going forward. Thank you. Thanks for being here. And we hope you enjoy the next few days.
tGELF, leading the change.